The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Teflon pan man, I'm the Teflon pan man, ain't nothing gonna stick on me.
Hey everyone, welcome to All You Can Eat. It's the podcast about deliciousness. I'm your host, Rob Rosenthal, coming to you here from New York City, New York in the fall. Lovely day, glad that you're all here with me. And excited about this particular show, in which, it's kind of an international flavored show because we've got two guests today. One from Lima, Peru, and the other from Montreal, Canada. So at first, I will play my conversation with a young woman named Pia León. And when I say young, I mean young. I mean, I don't know the exact age, but trust me when I tell you, this is a young woman, especially when you consider that she has been named the best female chef in all of South America. And I would hasten to point out, having spent some time in South America, I mean, I've eaten probably in 15 countries across Latin America. One of the things that's worth knowing is that of all of them, and you can have great food throughout that part of the world. I mean, you know, the food in Chile is lovely. Argentina, you're having steak and empanadas, Malbec. You go over to Brazil, it's great. Uruguay. I mean, there's a lot of really beautiful food. But I would say this with certainty, that when it comes to the most kind of advanced, the most progressive, really the most, in some ways, I guess, sophisticated cuisine in all of South America, you head yourself to Lima, Peru. They've just got extraordinary food down there. Some of the best restaurants in the world, not just in my estimation, but according to kind of like, you know, worldwide guides, 50 greatest restaurants in the world, you'll find Peruvian restaurants there. I remind people who are familiar with the restaurant Nobu, which has become kind of a global sensation, that Nobu Matsuhisa himself spent a number of years, I think around 7 years, in Lima, before opening up the first Matsuhisa in Los Angeles. There's a large Japanese community in Lima, and it was where Nobu Matsuhisa essentially invented what has become, kind of the signature of their food. This kind of fusion, if you will, between Japanese technique and style. With a little bit of kind of a Latin, kind of spice to it. I mean, nobody was really having hamachi, yellowtail with jalapeno peppers until kind of Nobu Matsuhisa invented it, and he did that in Lima, Peru. So at first, we're going to speak with a woman who, as I said, is the named kind of the best female chef in all of South America, Pia León. And then after that, we will have a conversation with Christos Sourligas, who is a Greek-Canadian from Montreal, Canada, Montreal, Canada, of course, and the author of my big, fat Greek cookbook, Classic Mediterranean Soul Food Recipes. And his book is really released just a couple of weeks ago. So we are going to have both of those. I will be here with you. With time allows, I will come back and do, as I like to do, some recommendations this week on products that I have sampled and that I feel really good about. But we start today with my conversation with Pia León. We're here with Pia León, which I don't think people know that that translates to lion. Am I right?
Sorry?
That translates to lion. I mean, that's
yes.
how you would say lion, right?
Yes.
Are you
yes.
Are you also like an Aries? What's your birth situation? What's your sign? Your birth?
Sagittario from December.
Sagittarius. Okay, fine.
Yes.
All right. But anyway, here's what I want to start with, which is did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
In Lima.
In Lima
yes.
itself. Okay.
Yes.
And like growing up, what did you eat? What's the food that you grow up with?
Like really traditional Peruvian food, like home for the real homes.
Right.
So a lot of stews, rice, vegetables. I eat everything.
Right. But
everything.
The usual stuff. And who did the cooking at home? Was it mom, grandma? Who did?
No, my mom loves to cook also. Also, we have a person that help us, cook in the home.
Right.
But normally my mom.
Your mom did the cooking.
And all my family like to cook.
And so home cooking was a big deal. And you were eating food that was, traditional,
simple,
and local.
Yes.
So just because I don't know if it's because I'm hungry or whatever, but just give me what's the Sunday night dinner?
Sunday was like a big day,
Sure, right.
All the family was there, so we divide like functions and everybody makes something.
Right.
So normally, for example, I love to eat. In Peru, we call locro. Locro is like a stew of pumpkin.
Right.
With some cheese.
Right.
It's amazing, and you eat with a egg on the top, white rice.
Right.
Yeah, it's really traditional.
Right.
But yes, we eat like ají de gallina, lomo saltado.
Right. So like beef and chicken and that kind of stuff and vegetables. All right, and did you cook when you were young?
Yes.
Yeah, because you had a job there. What was what do you recall? Like, what was your job? What did you have
normally, I start cooking, desserts.
Dessert? You were a dessert person? You started with?
No,
okay.
Yeah.
And what's the classic kind of? It's not really is it a flan culture or is it more of a cake? What's the dessert down in Peru?
For example, we prepared arroz con leche.
So arroz con leche for us would be more like a rice pudding.
Yes. Lemon pie.
Right.
What else? We have picarones.
Which
picarones are with pumpkin,
right,
like a dough, and then we fry. Yes, we have a lot of desserts. So I started cooking dessert with my mom.
Right.
She teach to me.
Right.
And then I decided and I changed, not too much desserts and go with more traditional Peruvian food.
And then at what point did you kind of realize that you were going to make food your way of life?
I think always,
Really?
Yes. I'm going to be really honest. I don't thought another option.
Right.
I was really decided. I want to be a cook.
Mm-hmm.
I want to cook all days. I like this. I love this.
Right.
So straight when I finished school, I started studying.
Did you go to a cooking? You went to a cooking school?
Yes, Le Cordon Bleu.
Oh, you went to you went to cooking school in France.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you went really serious. Okay,
yes.
That's great. That's great. No, I love that. And then you apparently did some of your what would you call it? Internship, stage, your training at some of the greatest restaurants around. No.
In Lima, I started working in Lima because a lot of people in that time, I'm talking about 15 years ago,
right,
wants to go out.
Sure.
But I decided to stay and to learn and to know more about what's Peruvian food,
Right.
So I decided to stay and I work in Lima and then directly I start working in Central.
Right.
Directly.
Right.
When I was in Central, of course, I thought was necessary and I go out. I went to Spain.
Right. Now tell people, though, at this point who are not familiar, because we're going to get into something about Peru here. Tell people who are not familiar with Central what it means in the world of food.
Yes, Central is the restaurant of my husband, of Virgilio, and I, and it opens almost 12 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so right now it's a restaurant, it's a concept when we show all about Peru, all about biodiversity, all about altitudes, we can find the Peru, the coast, the Amazon, the Andes. So we have amazing biodiversity. We can find a lot of products, a lot of ecosystem, a lot of cultures. So right now the idea is when you go to Central, you can feel and experience, like in one word, like Peru, biodiversity, and that's the idea. All the experience of Central is about ecosystem. So each plate have a unique ecosystem. You
Right,
know? And then
right.
you change.
Every plate that you serve
Yes.
is predicated on a different biosystem or a different altitude or whatever you want
It's
to call
about
it.
altitudes.
This is fantastic. So you spent time in Central.
10 years.
10 years. So that's
10
you're not
years.
kidding around there.
No.
Right, because that's where you wanted to be, and that's considered one of the great kind of restaurants in all of Latin America.
Uh-huh.
And it was, and at that point you said, I think I'm going to go work in Spain or something.
No, in the middle. You know,
Oh,
when I
okay.
was like 5 years in Central, I decided, okay, Virgilio, I want to go and to learn another cultures and other places. So I decided to go to Spain.
Right.
And I spent like some time in Celda Can Roca.
Uh-huh. And people should also know that always shows up on the list of one of the great, one of the best restaurants in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course. And you know, we had a lot of trips. You know, in these 10 years, I went to a lot of places, a lot of countries. So I think I really understand the difference between countries and cultures and everything. But I always stay in Central.
Sure.
Always. But yes, 10 years were a lot of time, and at that point I decided to make something different.
To
you
do your own place.
Yes.
All right. Before we talk about your own place, the name of your own place is
Koye.
Koye. I'm going to say KJOYLLE. Oh, look at
Yes.
that, man! I'll be honest with you, I'm impressed. Koye. All right. Before we talk about Koye, there's a couple of things that have crossed my mind based on what you said. One, I have explained to people after being in and out of Latin America for 7 or 8 years that if they want to understand where the most kind of progressive, sophisticated dining culture in all of Latin America is, that it's in Peru, okay? And people who know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get certainly lovely food in Santiago,
Of course.
and you can get beautiful steak and empanadas and Malbec in Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
and the Brazilians do nice work, and Mexican, I have a great respect. But what is it about Peru and Lima that makes it as kind of advanced from a culinary perspective as any place in all of South America?
Yes, I think that the most important is not only the cooks, all the people in Peru are really proud.
Uh-huh.
You know, we have this proud of being Peru, of our food. All the people wake up and think, okay, I want to breakfast this, and to lunch this, and to dinner this. All this about food, all day. So the result of that is, you know, we are proud. We love to teach people. We love to receive people. I think this is really important for us, and maybe it's that difference between, I don't know, Peru and other countries. You know.
Well, I'm going to say that I don't know, and I'll tell you why.
Uh-huh.
Because I think you're going to find people that are proud of their cuisine, every country that you go to. But
Of
there's
course.
something else going on in Peru.
Yes.
That allows, and it could, by the way, I'm not against biodiversity, that you have a supply of food that comes from whether it's from the ocean or from 12 different elevations.
Yes.
But there's also, but so tell me more about that, because I feel like I want to be able to explain to somebody why it's Peru.
You know, we only have one place, okay? So you can be in the coast.
Right.
You take a plane 1 hour,
Uh-huh.
and you are in the Andes. Totally different. And if you're in Lima and you want to go to the Amazonas, 1 hour plane.
Right.
So everything is really, really near. It's really close.
Right.
And you have thousands of opportunities, you know,
Right.
to see different products, not only vegetables. It's all about animals and the flora and the territory. So that's why biodiversity is a really important word for us.
Right.
It's really important, and I'm pretty sure that before this, like 15 years ago, nobody knows this.
Right.
Also the Peruvians, we don't know.
Right.
You know. Then we start to make these trips around Peru, and we notice this, and we say, wow, and there comes that proud I talked to you, no? So I think it's all about biodiversity we have. It's amazing, and people love that, you know. Is you went on holidays, and okay, you want to be in Lima, yes, and then I want to go to the Amazon, and
Sure.
you can see, I don't know, this amazing jungle.
Right.
So I think it's that, really.
And let me throw another possibility in here as well, Pia, which is in terms of cultural diversity, an enormous Japanese population. Am I correct?
Sorry?
A Japanese
Yes.
population, right? Okay,
Big
and
one.
so big time, right? And so has that influenced you, right? How so?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have chifa, you know? The chifa is about Japanese people. They
Right.
came here, they came to Peru long time ago, and we love Japanese food.
Right.
And then you have the mix of Peruvian and Japanese, that is Nikkei.
Right.
So right now in Peru we have a lot of restaurants of Nikkei food.
Right.
So we have a lot of influences.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
that makes a difference too.
Yes, it's a mix, you know?
Now, let me ask you this question. They say that you are the best female chef in all of Latin America.
They say.
That's pretty heady stuff. Like, how do you when you hear that? Like, what is it? How do you feel?
I
about
don't know. Maybe it's the moment, you know. I think there's a lot of women in Latin America that are amazing chefs.
that? Sure.
So I think it's the moment, you know. I was open in Coye, and I don't know, it was a surprise. I was really happy, of course,
Right.
because I have to be really honest. No, this recognition
Right.
is amazing for the restaurant.
Sure.
In our case, was amazing because we just opened, so of course it's nice, and all the people around the world can see you. No,
Right.
For the team, it's amazing because we have making a lot of work, so it's a recognition also for the team,
Sure.
not only for me.
Right, and you have a lot of females on your team,
Yes,
don't you? You do.
yes, but
That's coincidence. You're saying they were talented, they filled the job. It wasn't like you were looking to make it an all-female thing.
no.
Okay.
No.
Right.
I only look, you know, in the attitude.
Right.
If they want to cook, if they like, is nice. So they will have the job.
Right.
And it's okay for me, boys or girls.
Right,
For me,
you
it's
know-
the same.
Right, exactly.
I always say that.
As long as they can cook.
Yeah,
But let me ask you this, and I'm asking you this as someone who understands both restaurants and Latin American culture. Both Latin American culture is traditionally kind of very machismo, and restaurant culture lends itself to kind of historically kind
Yes.
of male kind of almost I don't know if the word translate, but an unruly kind of behavior. What's it like then to be a Latin female, restaurant chef?
I'm proud. You know?
No issue, right? It's like this is the
For
way it
me?
is. Right? Never was a problem.
No. Of course, is the reality. I think it's gone better.
Sure.
We have to accept, this is happening. We recognize this
Right.
problem, and then we start the change. So it's gonna be not too easy to make it happen, but we start, from something. So it's okay for me.
Okay.
I like it.
I'm happy to hear it. Now let's go into Coye, the new restaurant.
Uh-huh.
How new is new? When did you open?
1 year and 4 months.
Okay, so it's
Yes.
still kind of new. And
Yes.
then when I come to eat in the restaurant, what will I be having? What would you? I'm not even looking at the menu. What would be the meal that you would put out for me to have?
You will see colors, different
Okay.
textures, biodiversity of Peru, of course.
Okay.
It's a nice place. You can feel relaxed.
Sure.
A nice conversation.
Right.
You're gonna have contact with the cooks.
Okay.
And
And what am I going to eat?
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's kind of the big question here.
Yes.
You
You're gonna
do
eat-
some kind of
No.
ribbons with vegetables and potatoes.
Yes, you're gonna eat the Andes,
Okay.
the Amazon, and the coast. You're gonna eat tubers. You're gonna eat fish. So the cereals, quinoas, kiwichas.
Right.
Yes, we try not to use too much ingredients on the plate.
Right.
And a lot of people that came to Coye always ask to me, but what's the difference between Central and Coye? Because we are in the same place.
Right.
When we decided to move Central, because we just moved,
Right.
Central was in Miraflores, and we decided to move to Barranco.
Right.
It's really close.
Okay.
And the location was really big. And we decided really, okay, we are going to open Pia's restaurant, nice, perfect. So Coye is upstairs and Central is down.
Okay.
Okay? And the main difference is that, as I said, Central is about ecosystems and altitudes, and in Coye, we don't look about altitudes.
Right.
So we don't have limits,
Right, right.
We only concentrate in the product.
Right.
That's the idea.
Okay, fine.
Simple. Yes.
And so you married a chef, and what's that like to be married to someone?
I love.
You're happy with that?
Yes. Not too much people believe me, but not really. But but for us, I think we share a lot. He understands me, and I understand him. We share our passion.
Right.
We live in the same restaurant in the second floor, so it's perfect. We have a little child, so he's always in the kitchen, and we can run, to our house. So I think we organize in a nice way. So I really enjoy, really.
That's good. Okay, now the PR people would be happy if we talked a little bit about what you're doing here in New York City, New York. So MasterCard apparently does some type of program where they're essentially recreating your restaurants like yours, like Koye, for what is it, for like a month here?
Yes.
Are you going to spend like
No.
Okay.
No.
So explain a little bit about how this works.
Yes, the idea is that they recreate Koye.
Right.
The same here in New York.
Right.
So it's amazing because they came to Lima, take some
pictures,
photos.
right?
Yes.
That's great.
And when I came here, it was so crazy. It's the same. So yes, 1 month.
Right.
And
where are you going to access the ingredients from? I mean, it doesn't. I know I shouldn't ask, but I mean, I'm assuming that we have some good ingredients here. It's just that they may not be as biodiverse.
No. It's amazing because you can adapt it,
Sure.
That's the idea. So we use ingredients from here and also from Peru. So the first time we came here, I don't know, some weeks ago, we bring all the bags with food, praying in the airport.
Right.
But we were safe. And also here you can find Peruvian suppliers.
Sure.
So it's amazing. We can find it.
And the menu, I assume, is similar to what you would have down there.
It's almost the same.
Almost the same.
Yes. It's experience of 5 courses.
And 5 courses?
5.
Okay.
Yes.
We
have, for example, amazing scallops from here, and we make tiger's milk, that is this traditional sauce from ceviche.
Sure.
With guanábana, that is a fruit also from Peru.
I'm mad about guanábana.
Yes.
Soursop, we call it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
We have this this plate of koye that is the tart of tubers. It's a vegetarian one.
Now, what kind of tubers? When we talk about tubers, what are we talking about? What kind of tubers?
Potatoes. We have
that's one.
A big variety of potatoes. We have oyukos, mashwas, that is also like roots.
Right.
We have cassava.
Cassava, sure.
We use quinoa, kiwicha. Kiwicha is like the amaranth. Here they call amaranth.
Yeah. Cañigua.
So we bring all of that.
That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. The idea is to bring, a little piece of Peru.
You've reminded me of something. One, first of all, my friends from Chile insist that pisco is theirs, but I feel like that you could also take credit for pisco and pisco sour. Of course you can.
Yes.
I tell you, I like a pisco sour. I mean, I like it all, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't had one in a long time, and I'm kind of in the market. Will you be serving any pisco in the restaurant?
Yes,
okay.
we have it.
That's number one. Now, the second question I'm going to ask you is, remind me, what are the fundamental ingredients for tiger's milk?
Okay, good lime.
Good lime, yes.
Yes, good one.
Okay.
Some vegetables.
Yes.
We have ginger, garlic, onion,
okay.
cilantro. It's really important. Right. And we have a specific chili that we call ají limo.
Oh yeah.
A little one, red one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important. And of course, the fresh, of the products, of the fish.
Of the fish. Because is there some liquid from the fish that you use to make? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. And just now that having talked about that, I just also want to know, what are the other kind of ingredients that are classic to Peruvian cuisine? You have, are there particular types of like peppers or spices that you use?
Yes. Of course, I told you all the tubers. We have, the lime is really specific from one place in Peru.
You get a better lime down there, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. The chilies also.
Right.
The jilimo, we have a lot of chilies.
Sure.
¿Qué más? The pseudo cereals are important for us. ¿Qué más? We have the yellow chili. It's amazing. We use a lot the yellow chili pepper. We call ají amarillo.
Is it a ají amarillo? Is it a chili pepper? You said?
Yes, it's a chili.
It is a chili.
Yes, we have rocoto. It's another type.
Right.
So yes, we have a lot of.
You got all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the MasterCard program, where people, I assume they have to, they're probably, MasterCard, customers, clients, or whatever. They'll have access to come try your restaurant here in New York City,
Yes.
New York, for the month basically of November.
Yes, we have been here 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We are going to stay 3 more weeks, November. So this is amazing for all the team. We bring.
Oh wow!
4.
You
4
got
cooks.
people up here,
Yes.
okay, doing all the work.
These 4 guys are going to stay here all the month. This is my second time right now. Then I'm coming again in November. So yes, it's amazing to be here. It's a really nice place.
I like it.
Enjoying.
I like it. Assuming that you can find St. John Street in New York City, and I've been here my whole life. But it's actually very close to the subway, which is exciting. The other thing that I wanted to ask you was this: even though you're cooking kind of professionally, do you also have a kid, right? I mean,
Yes.
do you cook at home?
Yes.
Okay. What are you making at home?
On Sunday.
On Sundays.
On
What are you
Sunday.
making? What do you think?
Normally meat
Meat. Okay.
or fish.
Right.
Big salad
Right.
and some potatoes.
Okay.
Yes, really simple.
Well, Peruvian has great, but potatoes in Peru are great.
Amazing.
Like you got purple, and
Yes,
you got
yes.
Yeah, no wonder you guys have some great food. So I always ask. I like obviously talking with chefs, right? I mean, I have a professional culinary degree. I should point that out. I went to cooking school as well. I just didn't use it in the same way. I use it so that I can have this conversation with you. But the question I ask anybody in your position is, if you were to give advice, right, to like a home cook, I need to make here's the question: what can I make with the most taste, the fewest ingredients, and the least effort? Like what's that? What would I make? What would you make? Most taste, fewest ingredients, least effort.
Some eggs.
What is it? What was it?
Eggs.
Eggs? You're not the first person to say that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I asked Ferran Adrià last week, and he said fried egg. He did not hesitate. And then I made the mistake of asking him the next question, which he was just completely insulted by. Do you know what the question was? Do you use oil or butter? And he just he goes, you cannot ask a Catalan that question. Which I totally understood, and oil is the answer. All right, so we got MasterCard, we've got you.
For me, no. For me, butter.
For you, it's what?
Butter.
Yeah, I suppose that's good to know. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I like using though. I teach a class in how to get a lot of flavor with few ingredients, so I'm always using kind of what you would call spice blends. Because I can throw 10 flavors into that egg
Yes.
with one boom like
You
that.
can put vegetables, you can put spices, you can put
Any of those
meat,
things.
you can put everything, you know?
I love that. Okay, we've covered you, the best female chef in all of Latin America. Your new restaurant in Lima, which is not brand new, but it's only a year and change old, which is Coye. We've talked about the fact that you basically, people, if they're paying attention, have a month here in New York to try your food here in this city, sponsored by MasterCard. Let's give them another round of applause. How should we end this? Here's my question to you. My final question to you. What do you know for sure? What do you know for certain? It could be anything. What do you just know for sure, for a fact?
For this experience?
Anything in the world. I'm giving it what you have complete latitude. Is there anything particular that you know for sure?
I know for sure.
Yeah.
That I'm happy. I'm enjoying doing it, you know. I really enjoy cooking. I love my team. I love my kids. I think I have a good life.
Well, I got to tell you something, man. I'm happy for you because of that. You can't really come up with a better answer than that. Because that's rare, and it's a blessing when you can basically answer a question that way.
I'm going to this. I'm honest, you know, and I have to be grateful.
Yes.
No, that's the idea.
Grateful. And that's how we'll leave this. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to meet you and to speak with you. And if I'm lucky, I will get to Coye either here over the next couple of weeks,
and if you go to Peru,
or if I'm even luckier, yes, it'll be down in Peru.
Anything you need.
Muchas gracias por todo.
No, un placer.
El placer es mío.
No, encantada.
I really enjoyed that conversation with Pia. I found her to be easy to speak with. Obviously, she's super knowledgeable and likable and very mature. And I mean, you have to be, as I said, you have to be impressed that she's not only doing so well, but feeling the gratitude for having done it. Now, next up, as I mentioned, my conversation with Christos Sourligas, and Christos is not only the author of the book My Big Fat Greek Cookbook, which has just been released, but he didn't just write the book because he was a guy that wrote cookbooks. In fact, he spent 20 years doing something completely different as a creative guy in the television business. He wrote the book because his mother was ill, and this was a way to pay tribute, to pay homage to her by collecting kind of her classic Greek soul food recipes, if you will, and then making a book out of it. So here is my chat with Christos. Christos Sourligas. I hope I pronounced it right, Christos. How would you pronounce it in Greek and any other way?
Well, let's try it in French first.
Yes.
I'd say Christos Sourligas.
Ah.
I would probably say in French. In English it would be Christos Sourligas.
Gotcha.
In Greek it would be Christos Sourligas.
Ah, Sourligas. I like that. That's good. That's the original name, because you are clearly you're a Greek man.
I am a Greek Canadian. Both my parents were born in Greece, and I was born here in Montreal.
And are you? Am I speaking to you? Are you in Montreal right now?
That's correct. We're in Montreal. Montreal.
I ask you that because I have seen somewhere in the virtual world that you have spent a lot of time moving around. I know that you spent some time in Greece recently, did you not?
Yeah, since January I've been traveling, and I'm actually back just for a few weeks to promote the book and take care of my elderly parents a little bit. So I went a bit on a walkabout, as they say, and I've traveled to about 7 or 8 places since January, and the longest was in Greece for about 6 months.
All right. Well, first of all, let's do this. Tell people, first of all, Christos, what you do normally when you're not writing or promoting a book.
Well, that's a good question. Counting my money? No, actually not at all. I wish.
So tell people what you do when you're not writing or promoting your cookbook.
Okay. Well, for the last 20 years or so, I've been actually selling TV shows. I studied film, and I've been helping package, pitch, develop TV shows, mainly light entertainment comedy, for about 20 or so odd years. I worked for Just for Laughs, the big comedy festival up here in Montreal, and I worked for a couple of other production companies in Canada, and actually another one also in the U.S. as well. And in between all that, I've written and directed 2 feature films and a couple of non-scripted television series.
Now, people know, because I told them that you wrote My Big Fat Greek Cookbook, classic Mediterranean soul food recipes. But before we talk about the book per se and why you wrote it, I am always interested in what people ate growing up, because that obviously matters. So, what did you eat growing up?
We ate mostly Greek food. I mean, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my parents made us what they knew. My mom, being, for the most part of her life here in Canada, being a housewife, she made us 3 square meals a day, and almost never had junk food in the house, unless it was like a birthday party. Never had soda pop or chips. She made all the desserts from scratch. 3 full meals a day, every day, 7 days a week. I think we probably went out maybe once a month. We would go out to like McDonald's on a Sunday afternoon or something like that, Sunday evening with my parents. But I remember growing up, my father's paycheck, he'd always cash his check at the local grocery store every Friday.
Right. And
we would get all these boxes of food delivered. And my dad also owned several restaurants throughout the years, so he always had the best picks of meat and the best cuts of, pork and beef and fish.
Right.
And I also do recall, actually, I'll never forget this memory. every Friday, my parents would also have a big box of oranges, fresh oranges delivered. And my mom every morning would hand squeeze the orange juice for 4 kids. Hand squeeze. I mean, no one does that anymore. So my earliest memories is, yummy, Greek food. Very simple, what I call, Greek soul food, as I've put together in the book.
All right, so now, great, that's perfect, because we're going to get in. Normally at this moment, I would ask you, what were some of the specific dishes, but the thing is that you've actually written a book and included the very recipes from that era, from your mom's cooking in the book. So let's start off with this, Christos. Tell people why you wrote the cookbook.
A little under 3 years ago, my mom was only given about 12 to 18 months to live. She had a heart condition, and very few cardiologists wanted to, open her up because of her advanced age and other ailments that she had. So I decided to make a cookbook before she passed on as a tribute to her, or an homage to her for all that she's done for us and all the sacrifices she made to give us a better life. And that started with basically feeding us. It started by taking care of our diets. I mean, we ate so well at home. None of us have any sort of, obesity or diabetes or anything like that. I mean, the way our mom was able to tell us that she loved us was through her food. We grew up in a very traditional Greek household where our parents didn't necessarily say, "I love you," as you would see like in, Leave the Beaver or whatnot, in Hollywood films. They actually said, "I love you" through the food that they made for us.
Yeah, I can identify with a lot of what you're describing. So that's quite the undertaking. And it's how's it going? I mean, from what I can see peripherally, people love the book.
We launched 2 weeks ago, and on social media, we're doing great. We're getting a lot of press. We do a lot of radio, television, newspapers, whatnot. So it's well received, and our publisher is actually going into a second print. And this was well before that the book was even actually officially launched on October 22nd. So we're quite excited about that.
That's great. That's great news. Let's talk about some of the foods in the book.
All right. Where do we begin?
I think we begin at the beginning. You're a storyteller. I believe that you've structured the book into a beginning, middle, and end. Let's talk about some of the stuff that people are going to read about and try to replicate when they pick up a copy of my Big Fat Greek Cookbook.
Okay, so we'll start with the appetizers. We'll start with soup salads. We'll start with some of the entrees, as we call it here in Canada. You got simple stuff like, pumpkin fritters and meatballs and simple soups like, meatball in egg lemon sauce.
Yes.
You got a lot of different types of pies like spinach pie, spanakopita, and cheese pies and cheese pie triangles and pumpkin pie. My mother doesn't normally make it with zucchini as they would in Greece. For instance, zucchini pie or zucchini fritters is actually made with pumpkin. Why? More than likely, she, took the tradition of being in North America, so she used pumpkin. Or maybe it was more readily available, or she actually liked cooking it with it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when she'd make these pies, the pies with pumpkin and the pumpkin fritters, she would actually squeeze the water out of the pumpkin shreds with her own hands instead of actually putting it through a mesh or through a sheet or dabbing it with sheets. She would actually do it with her hands. And these are like the earliest memories, like of seeing my mom just working all this food with her hands and sometimes taking hours to make just one simple meal, and then we have just the traditional salads, like a Greek salad. We have like a green salad. We have different types of veggies, from like, string beans in a simple kind of tomato and potato sauce. We got stewed okra. We got boiled greens, biryani, which is what would be considered Greek ratatouille, potatoes in the oven. The list goes on.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of like the starters or the side.
Right.
That doesn't even include a lot of the dips. Like tarama dip, which is like the fish roll dip, and tzatziki, and garlic potato dip.
Nice.
Etc. Yeah, I'm starving actually right now. Just talking about it.
Yes, and you're making me hungry as well. Yeah, that sounds good. It's what you've reminded me too, by the way, is I feel like, because you said you grew up basically eating this stuff, not junk, and none of you have any kind of dietary kind of ailments or that kind of thing. And I want to tell you something. In my lifetime, I mean, in one way, I've been lucky to have eaten around the world. But I will say this. On the other hand, I've probably experienced, or at least been on, almost every diet that there is known to man. And I'm going to tell you something. In general, the idea of diets, in my estimation, Christos, the idea of diets basically are failures. I mean, if they were successful, there wouldn't be a new one invented every month, and people would,
absolutely.
And my country, I can't speak for Canada, but I can certainly speak for here. I mean, I live in a country that's dominated by obesity. But I'm going to say this with certainty: there is no healthier way to eat, in my estimation, both personally and professionally, than what they call the Mediterranean diet. There's just something fundamentally kind of healthy, and this goes back, to the way the Greeks were eating thousands and thousands of years ago. There's fish, there's lovely lean protein, there's plenty of vegetables. You have olive oil. The Greek diet itself, I mean, if you had to pick one that you wanted to eat for the rest of your life, strictly on the basis of it is both delicious and healthy, to me, would be Greek food.
Wow. I should take you on my tour, on the book signing tour. How's your experience in Greece? You were actually in Greece this past summer.
Well, not only was I there, but I'm going to tell you two things that you might find interesting. One is that in my short time in Athens, there were two highlights. One was we went to go see a live concert outdoors up there. I forget the name of the place. 5,000 seats, a theater that was built 2,000 years ago. Outside concert of the Greek Symphony Orchestra, 137-piece orchestra, whatever it was. It was unbelievable, remarkable. I mean, just an acoustic kind of accomplishment that's hard to imagine. Not one microphone in the outdoor auditorium, and yet the sound was flawless and perfect for every one of the 5,000 people in attendance. Now, aside from that cultural experience, I found some place for dinner, and long story short, had a piece of lamb. Again with the Greek salad and whatever else was showing up. But I grew up on lamb. When you said your dad came home with a box, or they sent over a box. I mean, my grandfather, my whole life, who was a butcher, came to our apartment with a box of meat. So I grew up having high quality chicken and beef and lamb. This piece of lamb that I had in Athens was the best lamb I ever had in my life.
Wow.
I mean, your people can do some lamb, man, but I never had anything that I never had anything that melted in my mouth like that. The other thing I'm going to tell you, Christos, that you can appreciate is I remember asking you when you said where you're going. I said, well, I got a quick stop in Santorini, and you told me to go to kind of like the end of Santorini. I don't remember the name of the town. Short town, OTA, ETA. What's the town out there at the very?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had recommended a place, and I ended up out there in Ia, sitting on the water, eating.
Okay.
And she said the waitress also, who was the owner, and her husband was the chef, said, go into the kitchen and pick the fish that you want. And, we'll grill it right here. And so that kind of experience that's unforgettable. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful food. I happen to be a fan of any time I can get my hands on fresh octopus. So my Greek experience was fantastic, and thank you for the for the recommendations.
My pleasure. I like seeing your photos on social media. And the other thing is we also tend to forget what actually happens in Greece beyond just the eating, the historical and the cultural experience. is that you also have the air, the fresh air. You have almost no sun you have almost no clouds throughout the summertime, so it's constantly, sunny. You got the beaches, and you got the history, and you got the archaeology, and there's just something about eating in Greece and just being in Greece that just takes you back to some other place in time. It just feels like time stands still almost.
Yeah.
And I think it's a question of just, the salt air, the beach, the blue skies, the sun, the smells, the taste. It's all part of the palate. It's not just, one thing. I think you can't actually eat Greek food without actually experiencing all the rest of it as well. I mean, obviously in Greece, it's a little more difficult to replicate that in other parts of the world, but it starts, with the food, and everything else just accentuates it.
Yeah, it's a terrific experience. I would recommend it, and it was exciting to be there. I was happy to do that. You got what's the Greek food like in Montreal? You got some decent Greek restaurants up there? The most famous one that you know of, because there's a location also in New York, is Milos. Oh, you're right.
Sure. That what you would call a Psalms Taverna, which is a fish tavern.
Yeah, that's big money.
Say again?
That's big money. It's expensive here.
Yeah, and he's got 5 locations around the world, and he started out here in Montreal. His first restaurant was here, and a lot of the Greeks actually not only run a lot of restaurants here, but they also run a lot of the produce and a lot of the fish and the meat products and the fruits and the vegetables, packaging, boxes, anything to do with the food industry. They almost have a monopoly up here in Quebec. And if it wasn't, I want to actually say this, I'll go out and say this. If it wasn't for the Greeks in the last few decades, I'm not sure what the actual, restaurant industry would like in the city, because, a lot of the local French Canadian chefs would say, well, it's because of us. The thing is, actually, decades ago, there was actually very few great restaurants that you would eat at. There weren't actually Greek owners. For the most part, the Greeks here owned Greek restaurants and every other restaurant. Like my uncle owns a French restaurant. My dad owned a pizzeria. He also owned a Jewish deli. So it's not just the Greek restaurants that the Greeks own up here. They own just about any kind of restaurant you can think of. And in the last maybe, couple of decades, I'd say in the last 10 to 20 years, a lot of young people from all walks of life, and including French Canadian kids, have opened up these great restaurants. And I think they took that tradition of eating well, to be honest with you, from the Greeks. You did have a tradition of great French bistros here, but not to the point where they were on the world map, except for a couple of restaurants here and there. I think the Greeks actually really kind of, propelled the food industry in this province more so than any other place, I think, in North America.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I remember being up there, and I was very happy with the food up there in Montreal. I thought I had some really great food. It's like the easiest place for us, kind of especially here on the East Coast, to get to a foreign country. I was happy with the food up there. Any trips coming up? You got some travel plans coming up?
Well, promoting the book here. I'm in Toronto as well, promoting the book there. I'll probably be in New York sometime in December to do a little bit of a PR push in time for Christmas. After that, I'm hoping that for the end of the year, I'm going to go someplace hot and then maybe take off for the winter months, because I just can't deal with the cold anymore, just like I did last year. So I just got a suitcase these days. I'm just living out of a bag, and I'm actually enjoying it, I never would have thought I would. I was a little kind of actually apprehensive and a little actually scared, but right now I think, the road is my home.
Sweet. All right. Tell people, Christos, where they are going to find my Big Fat Greek Cookbook, Classic Mediterranean Soul Food Recipes. Where do they look for you in the book?
You can find it on Amazon. You can find it probably at any fine bookstore, Barnes & Noble up here in Canada. You can find them at Indigo and Chapters. And it's being sold around the world. My publisher is from New York. It's Skyhorse Publishing, and they're distributed worldwide through Simon & Schuster. And my literary agent is out of the Bent Agency in New York as well. Louise Fury is my agent, and Nicole Frail is my publisher. You can find it anywhere. You just, 2 clicks. Amazon, My Big Fat Greek Cookbook, done.
Yeah, sweet. And, I'm happy to hear it because, Skyhorse published my book as well. So I love that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
There's your small world. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Christos Sourligas, I'm trying to give it a little bit of a Greek accent, author of My Big Fat Greek Cookbook, Classic Mediterranean Soul Food Recipes. Thank you for being with me, Christos. Appreciate the time, and good luck on the book.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to come see you in New York when I'm there next.
It's a deal. Christos, the author of My Big Fat Greek Cookbook. At this point in the remaining time, let me give you a couple of things. One is my recommendation. You know that I am your recommendation engine. I will only recommend those things that I really like, and I will, in full disclosure, tell you, if anybody's ever compensating me to do this, and in this case, again, no. But, I love gin. And I've tried a lot. And then recently I was sent a bottle of gin that I can tell you that I thought was outstanding. And I don't want to mess up the name because it's not an easy one, but it looks like Jaisalmer. Jaisalmer, Indian gin. Jaisalmer was extraordinary. And the way that I kind of assess gin is before you adulterate it with anything, like tonic, or before you turn it into a cocktail, like a Negroni, I just put a little sip in my mouth. Not even an ice cube. And that's when I know, hey, this stuff's real good. Real good. Jaisalmer Indian gin will run you, I believe, about $50. And I think the reason I'm giving it to you now is because, when people go to these holiday parties, generally, you grab a bottle of wine or champagne, which is fine. But you want to do something different. Get yourself a bottle of gin. I think Jaisalmer would run you about $50 a bottle. That's the price level we're talking about. And for anybody that appreciates gin, this is a really nice gift. Jaisalmer Indian gin, as I said, Jaisalmer. Something that you can pick up this holiday season and bring to those who, who either like gin or need to like it. It's become obviously increasingly more popular. I always look at gin as the original flavored vodka, because in some sense that's what it is. And so I'm a fan. I'm a fan in general of the product, and I like this Jaisalmer Indian gin. Go ahead and enjoy that. I would say also on the subject of things that I can recommend with the holiday season coming up, you may want to consider my book, Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. In my conversation with Christos, you'll hear that his book was published by a company called Skyhorse, same as mine, and also easy to find. You go to Amazon, you go, Short Order Dad, boom, that'll pop up for you. I'm proud of the reviews from people in and around the world of food, and it makes a terrific and inexpensive gift to give to anybody this holiday season, whether they are seasoned cooks or whether or not they are novice cooks. The concept behind the book is simple. Most taste, fewest ingredients, least effort. I mean, that's how I play. Get the best ingredients you can. Try not to mess them up too much. Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free, available on Amazon and wherever else online you want to buy these things. One final announcement this week is that coming up on November the 12th, which is this coming Tuesday night, I'm teaching. I'm giving a class, a session over at the fabulous 92nd Street Y here in New York City. It's entitled 10 Herbs and Spices That'll Change Your Life. And while I promised 10, I'll be bringing 15. 15 ideas, 15 simple ingredients, mostly kind of like herbs and spices and spice blends, that one hit of which will transform a dish from simple to extraordinary This is easy ways to magnify your cooking skills in the kitchen. So if you happen to be around 92nd Street Y, go pick up yourself a ticket to come see me do 10 herbs and spices that will change your life. That's it for tonight, my friends. Episode number 68, a conversation with the fabulous Pia León, with Mr. Christos Sourligas, 2 international guests. And I will be back with you next Wednesday, 8 p.m., for All You Can Eat. That'll be episode number 69, and you can find any one of the previous 68 episodes on iHeartRadio. Search All You Can Eat in the podcast section, now on Spotify as well. And my pleasure, as always, to be with you every Wednesday or Thursday or whenever you happen to listen to a podcast. This is Rob Rosenthal coming to you from New York with All You Can Eat, the podcast about deliciousness. And remember, my friends, life is short, so never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on